Jeff King. I'm Andy Erickson. This is Not Another Shooting Show. We go to one of the Carolinas, South Carolina, Greenville, South Carolina. I clicked the wrong tab. Sorry. Police said they are investigating after a man accidentally shot himself at a downtown bar and grill. It happened at City Tavern a little over a month ago, actually. I just found this story. The man was sitting at a table enjoying games with a friend when the firearm in the man's pocket accidentally fired. The City Tavern wrote on Facebook, quote, "We are extremely grateful that no one was injured and that the situation was quickly contained. Our deepest thanks go out to the guests and community members who acted swiftly to provide immediate assistance until emergency personnel arrived." So, Greenville police said they were called to a shooting at the City Tavern around 6 p.m. After further investigation, they determined one patron had shot himself in the leg. The man was taken to a hospital, underwent surgery. Police reported closed-circuit TV footage from the tavern, and employee statements confirmed it was accidental. Investigation is ongoing.
Well, I'm glad it was accidental.
Yeah, accidental. Now, it's in his pocket. Now, was that a bodyguard 2.0, do you think?
My first thought is the car C9 or CS.
Oh, those weren't bad pistols.
No, but they were a nice little brick that everyone would just like throw in their pocket.
Yeah, they were little. Yeah. No, my first thought was actually something way dumber. You know, like not a dumb gun, but a dumb way to carry it. Like he's got a regular old like Glock 26 in his pocket, and it's just in the pocket. You know,
yes.
Trigger guard floating around. You know,
that was my assumption.
There's no problem here. Nothing to see here. Just an exposed trigger guard and trigger that can go off. Anyway, on that note, patreon.com/notanothershootingshow. We're doing the ad right away because we have a guest to get to, and we'll forget if we don't. It's only $3.57 a month. You go to the website, patreon.com/notanothershootingshow. Don't look us up on the app. Do that after you become a patron, because if you're an Apple iPhone user and you subscribe through there, they will charge you more money. So don't do that. Just go directly to the website through a browser, patreon.com/notanothershootingshow. Also, join our Reddit, r/NASS. It's a lot of fun, except for that son of a bitch Austin who said I look like John Correa again. Damn it. MW Activewear, the finest jerseys you can get for your match. Get them now. Get on her list. Actually, she cranked out lists or designs in a hurry. There was a guy who messaged me, "Hey, what was the name of the lady that does your jerseys?" And I sent it to him, and he like a day later sent me the design. She's fast.
Yeah, she's fantastic.
Northwoods is May 2nd and 3rd, 2026, up in Forest Lake, Minnesota. First place payouts are going to be at least $1,000 each for CO and LO. 4 half-day squads are available. The rest are all one-day schedules. And PCSL Belt Championship, April 18th and 19th at the Mission 160 range in Texas. That's outside Dallas, correct?
I believe that's what he said.
I think that's what it is. Okay. And if you have a match, let us know here too. So, we have a guest this week. Jeff, I don't know how to introduce our guest, so I'll let you introduce our guest.
So, Scott is the Georgia section coordinator. He did run the Peach Classic. Is that what it was called?
Yes, that is correct. Georgia Peach Classic.
Yeah. So, and I've heard great things about your match. So I thought we would
Ladies
have
and
you
gentlemen,
on.
Scott Hauswirth. Welcome to the show. That's how you introduce him, Jeff.
Oh, sorry. I'm
Thanks
new.
for having me.
So
would you like me to complete those thoughts, or?
Let's just start. We'll get to everything. Let's just start with, you got issues down there, Scott.
We got a few, yeah, and it's unfortunate, and I've seen this at a number of clubs and or I'd say ranges, both indoor and outdoor, that host USPSA matches. This one is different from ones I've seen in the past, and the last match I ran, they ended up selling the range, but it's been there for 17 years, and so there's a long history of the match functioning at that range. And it's a private range, and it's 400 beautiful acres, well kept, but it's member owned and board of directors managed. And there's just been years of conflict, and this is far before my time, and before some of the board members' time, and stemming from who knows what, but manifesting itself as just a lot of financial misunderstanding and overreach, and that it got to the point that we were paying a certain amount, and we're happy to pay more than that, and we're paying more than that, and then it was went a little bit farther until it was proposed that match directors would only be able to buy targets and pasters and need approval beyond that. And it really, that wasn't anything that was finalized, but it was discussions that ensued that it ended up, the board just voted to not have us there. And there's a lot of minutia underneath, and back and forth and details of the story that I'm not going to go into, and I really can't go much deeper into it than that. But it's the story isn't over yet, but at the same time, if that's not going to be the range that we're operating out of. I'm working on other ideas, a new location for the Peach, and another larger, more flexible range in terms of what you can do for matches, and hopefully get that solidified in the next month or so to be able to start planning matches for 26 and 27.
Okay, so like the bullet point version of this is you guys were at a range, and the board of that range, like it's a nonprofit gun club. When you say it's a private range, like that's what it is. They own their own land, and
That's
a nonprofit
correct.
gun club is running this facility. Okay. And I looked up the website, and they said there's lots of practical shooting on there. It's just USPSA that has gotten the hatchet, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And
I presented to the board this past Monday, and I wish that I could tell a story that makes it make sense, but I can't make sense of it myself. So,
and just for clarity's sake, we're recording this episode. I think it'll be 2 weeks prior to. Well, the Monday you were talking about was more than 2 weeks ago. When this episode comes out.
It was the 10th. So
right, but when this episode comes out, it'll be the 26th, so it will be 2 weeks ago at that point. So
correct.
We're working ahead because
Yes.
I'm going on an elk hunt in Montana. So
Yes. Fun.
Jeff, were you about to say something?
Oh yeah. So what? Where did what was the biggest conflict point? Because this isn't the first range that I've heard of getting rid of like competition shooting, especially like a moving competition shooting. Normally I've heard of it being dissolved due to accidents or something like that. Was there an event? Was there like something that put this over the top, or was it just like you kind of mentioned like a long simmering issue? Like, again, I know you said you couldn't go into specifics.
Yeah, I mean it's hard for me to get detailed and in it right now, because it's the story hasn't seen its conclusion yet. But I think that at the heart of it comes down to two different types of shooters potentially. There's shotgun rifle shooters, and then action shooters, and I don't know if it's just something that it's tough for people to get past. I can't say that it's the support from our shooters to the range is immense. I mean, the amount of work they put into it, never asking for a thing, just want to be part of it. It's taken care. It's cared for well. There's Yeah, I'd be guessing to say what it really is, but I can say that at some level, there's a misunderstanding of the financials. And I mean, anybody who's run a match, particularly USPSA, knows that it runs a pretty slim profit margin. And,
Yeah.
in the match as it was, we had 160 shooters registered for our September match. 20 of them we couldn't get off the wait list. And so we ran 140 shooters in September
Good
a
God.
monthly. We run AM and PM squads with dedicated ROs on stage ROs, not even squad ROs that are embedded in shooting. So there's two ROs per stage who read the WSB and run a squad, and they stay there and wait for the next one, right?
So you have a
And so
section match every month, basically.
yeah, I mean it's the same. It's the same as it would be at any major. I say at any major, and
Well, not any major Jeff's been to.
right. So, and then if you RO'd in the AM, you shot in the PM, and if you shot in the AM, you RO'd in the PM. So, if we ran 6 stages, and in September, so it takes 24 ROs to make that happen. And and then on top of that, we've got stats for AM, stats for PM, range master for AM, and then one for PM, myself, right? So now there's some crossover there, right? Like, so, somebody maybe the running stats while they're pulling double duty somewhere else. But generally, it's 24 to 26 staff members for a monthly match, which hasn't been an issue. And it's I mean, gosh, it's not even that. I ask a lot of the ROs, and I mean, they're on a 1 hour Zoom call the Monday before each match every month, and which is going on another tangent, but one of the things that I don't see a lot at the majors that I've worked at any level, nationals, area matches, is just clear communication. And we on that call that we go over, it's a Zoom call. We're all there with each other, and we go over the stages and stuff from the match, but it's almost a side note to the purpose of the match, which is really for us all to share ideas, things that we've seen, experiences at recent matches that we can all learn from, so that we're not leaving everybody to wait to encounter something on their own before they gain that experience, and being able to pull from everybody's experience who's on the call, who may have seen different things, really shortens the learning curve for a lot. And that's been helpful. So that way, when we get to the match or get to a major match, if somebody asks a question of an RO on stage 1 and then asks the same question on stage 9 of an RO, they're going to get the same answer because we've well communicated it.
So the financial structure of your USPSA club is that the bank account is run through the gun club, correct?
Incorrect. So
okay,
none of the clubs at Riverbend, they're
tenants basically.
So right, like they run, and I can't speak. I think some of them only take cash. Some of them may take, barter for whatever you had in your pocket. But some of them only have 8 to 10 shooters, maybe with 2 or 3 members. But all of them run through some separate entity. So ours was no different.
I'm trying to understand how if you have your own checkbook to buy props, steel, so on and so forth, why are they trying to say you can only buy targets and pasters when you have your own checkbook to buy? If you want to buy blow-up dolls, you can buy blow-up dolls. Like, if they don't want you to use them there, that's fine, but like you can still buy blow-up dolls.
Well, there is the crux of the issue. And
logic is not being involved. I understand. Now, I've seen this movie before. Got it. Okay.
And so, and I've at the 30 minutes of speech on my part, and really there was representation from shooters there. And I mean, it was really, guys, listen, we want to have a match. I told him, I mean, you guys decide. I will pay you whatever it is you would like to make. And whatever works to the benefit of the gun club, that works for all of the venues that shoot here, essentially. And I say venues, that's what they call them. They're, I mean, whatever shooting discipline it is, then I am happy to make that work. But restricting a match director from buying a popper is, to the point that I made, the same as me asking my HOA if I can buy a new sink faucet, and not something that is fair to ask of anybody. That said, I'd have been happy to pay them what they want to make.
It's fascinating how much conflict there is, and the thing it's hard for my brain to wrap around is that only USPSA was targeted, because when I was in Oklahoma, they were telling me about the Oklahoma IDPA championship was stopped in the middle of the match because the guys who bought that gun club didn't want it going on, and someone assaulted someone. Cops were called.
Oh my God.
Oh yeah. Match had to be canceled or something like that. And
wow.
Yeah. So yeah, it's just baffling to me that you guys are being targeted for nothing you can talk about specific event, because I've also, my club is legendary for parts of our action shooting disciplines to not exactly follow best practices, and they got a talking to because of it. But I am baffled that you're able to put on a section match every month, and they're like, no, we do not want you to do that.
Because like the whatever I take it you pay a per shooter fee back to the club whenever you have a match or something like that.
Well, I wanted to. We paid $5 per non-member for 15 years, up until 2 years ago, and then that switched unilaterally. There wasn't discussion. I would have been happy to tell them, but that switched to, you get a board-approved reserve amount. And whatever that amount is, whatever the excess at the end of the month after you pay your operating expenses, then you give that to the club. So we had a $2,500 reserve. I didn't see any need to keep any more than that. So anything above that, after we pay all the expenses every month, we would have to pay them. So the past 2 years have been like that.
Wait. So you have to pay them $2,500?
No, we get to keep that. Anything above, like at all times.
So if you take an $8,000 in a month, you have to pay them $5,500.
We would, yeah, under that scenario. Now we would never take in that much. We only charge 25, and I don't, I've got a significant amount of staff that I don't charge, right? So, I mean, a few $1,000s is what comes in every month, and but. Again, to the point I made to them, listen, there was this idea, and this came from the previous match director, that, somehow there was money that they weren't being given. And, because we donated to pay for bay maintenance on the bays that we shoot. And it was a significant amount of money, and they were all surprised that money existed. And so it was, okay, well, this is how we can get the money. And well, listen, if the give me what you have left business model worked, we would see that more in our daily lives. If the reason the IRS doesn't employ the give me whatever you have left model is that, I promise nobody's got anything left.
Nope. Okay. So we did that for 2 years, and I was okay with that, because I mean, I made sure they got paid every month, but I've got an amount of control over what I spend every month in order to
pay something that's
Oh,
reasonable.
wait.
And
Now it's starting to come together. You can only buy pasters and targets because you're not paying us enough money. So you can't buy anything else that costs anything so that we get more money.
right. And again, that was a draft that was sent out by a committee. I was on that committee, although was not part of the drafting of said draft and I had asked them, like, listen, don't do that. I will pay you what you want to make, but you are attempting to add an incredible amount of non-existent policies, procedures, processes, to the chief range officer there who's taxed in his time as it is, while I'm standing here trying to give you the money. It doesn't make sense. I will pay you what you want to pay, but restricting a match director like that. And yeah, I run a specific type of match. It's I don't do I won't run a marginal match if it's if I, and it, but more than anything is that it's just bullying, and it's whatever the reason is. It's been, and this is, I mean, there's a history of this, and it's not the first time. I've attended almost every board meeting and had to give presentations a couple different times, and it was just one thing after another. And it's, I can't I wouldn't give my kids the advice to not do the right thing, and if they're being bullied, to defend themselves and defend the ones that they represent. And while it's inconvenient for the shooters right now, I'm hopeful that we can pull it back together. But what's right is right, and making the right call when it's inconvenient or when it's not what you want to do is what I think is the difference between having integrity and not.
Oh, well, that's, I mean, I could start saying things that are mean and probably true when I don't know anything, but I've seen this movie so many times where there's a gun club and there's a bunch of, shall we say, board members of a certain age,
Yeah.
who have something in their head, and no matter what you say to them, they will not change their mind. You can say water's wet, but they disagree, and they will fight with you until you say it's dry, and then they'll just try to kick you out because you won't say that water is dry.
Yeah.
A club near me has had this battle, but they ironically sort of won out because the guy running the USPSA club that was a tenant of the club was also a member of the board. And then because the president of the board was not paying attention to the bylaws, he resigned thinking he was just going to appoint a new president. And oops, the vice president's now the president, and now the USPSA guy's in charge. He hates it, but at least he's sort of in charge and can make sure certain things don't happen. So, I mean, he hasn't.
And that's what ended up happening here almost, is that it got to the point, and I've got at least 6 people underneath me who have already gone through the approval process with Riverbend to vet them, and they've gone through the required trainings to say that they are approved to run the match in my absence. And after, when this came through, and the fact that my voice wasn't heard and it was disregarded, and I let the president know that I was going to step down from running the match, and so they used that as fuel to say, well, then the match is dissolved. And this came from him by himself. So for a couple of days, back and forth over text. And my argument is, I mean, listen, I am not USPSA at Riverbend, no more than a manager is a corporation, or that the president of the United States is the country. It goes on. Me stepping down doesn't mean the match goes away. If I got hit by a bus, there's 6 people that will run this match. And one of them raised his hand and immediately and said, "Hey, I'm in. I'll run the match." And it was a political railroad. The board meeting that I went to and presented at was, we weren't changing any minds there. And but I wasn't okay with it being a unilateral decision by one person, that the board at least needed to hear it. But I mean, like so many boards, those decisions are made before you get to the meeting room.
Oh
So
yeah, for
I
sure.
I accepted it, for what it is, and at this point, I think it's really in, and then told them that we'll be picking up that our the property that belongs to the Georgia section, which is everything that was purchased through the Georgia section, which what came as quite a surprise to them, that it didn't all belong to them. And so that's
Like,
where
what do
we
you
are now.
mean, the like props
All
and
of the
stuff? Like the
props, yeah.
oh they the board thought that all this stuff that you as a club bought was theirs.
Well, I mean, if they thought that they had a right to tell me what I could and couldn't buy, which speaks to their control of revenue, then yeah, they were sure that everything there belongs to them. But none of the they were paid outside of revenue coming in and expenses being paid, and which only changed once in 17 years, and but have always been paid separately. So Georgia corporate law will dictate that the person who buys it is the one who owns it, outside of any separate agreement, which there never was. So, but I tried ad nauseum to get them to just. I tried to get the president to just sit down and have lunch with me. Let's talk this out and not do this over nonverbal communication. And that invite was refused on a few occasions before the board meeting happened. But and we had a chance of being able to repair it at that point. But I understand that. I mean, he's got pressure coming from his side, that the ones who have been there a long time and want to see USPSA gone. The issue that I don't, in my mind, that I don't think has really happened yet, is the it's a private club that is, I mean, we get a lot of new members. Now it's about 2,500 members right now. But the largest exposure by a lot is USPSA. With that many shooters, we have 10 to 20 new shooters at every match.
Yeah,
And many of them become members for that reason. Now, the largest source of income they have is initiation fees and annual dues.
sure.
So, I mean, when you start, and I mean, it's USPSA is by far the fastest growing discipline that shoots there. And
Is
I
it the
don't know,
biggest?
yeah, by a
Okay.
lot.
I was gonna say
I mean,
140 a match is a lot.
yeah. I mean, the next biggest would, I can't say if it'd be IDPA or IDPA probably gets, 40 to 50, Steel Challenge,
How
60
many
maybe, something
how
like
many
that.
rimfire bench rest shooters they get on their monthly?
I don't know. You don't have a lot of time to do anything else but USPSA when you run USPSA matches, but not much, not much.
Right.
We had 60. I mean, 60 of our shooters in September were Riverbend members, and when you consider that, the active membership's only about 10%, maybe 10 to 12% of total membership. So consider 250 to maybe 300 active Riverbend members that don't just sit at home and have a membership. And 60 of those were at our September match. It's significant. Many of them sent emails to the president. And to his credit, he responded to all of them. Several of them, were either with me on copy or they forwarded them to me. And, I think that they were disingenuous to, it was, his perspective on it, or at least the perspective that it shows maybe a different light. But there's, Listen, I would have run this match forever. And one of the things that I am not soft on is rules. And like if I'm with anything that I'm involved in, it doesn't matter if it's USPSA and but competition in particular. But if I'm going to buy into something, I'm going to follow what it is that we've all signed on for. And of course, the people that knew me as a teenager would probably not agree with that. But we all grow up at some point.
Well,
no, we don't all.
No, well, Jeff's growing up. I mean,
slowly.
Slowly.
I choose to just be a large teenager.
You did a good job after that one match. You were pretty grown up about it.
After that one match,
for you anyway.
I mean,
correct.
But it really comes down to our staff, and so I have run two matches that both got featured in USPSA magazine, but the first one was an indoor match, and we would run. So it was Hammer Down Practical Shooters, and Hammer Down, we ran in 3 indoor bays, ran 3 squads on 6 stages with 45 to 50 shooters every Monday with a round count up to 150, and we did it in 3 hours. And we had ballistic walls, so we were shooting.
Oh,
we were
helps.
shooting 100. Well, I mean, it helps in terms of your. It helps in terms of what you can do and your creativity with stages, but it's harder to design stages that all have to hit into the trap versus being able to put targets up against the sides. But
yeah,
I mean, we grew to in the top 4 of most attended matches in the country within a year of putting it together. And that's for an indoor match, right? So I mean, it was pretty significant, but it doesn't hold a candle to, and it's some of the same staff. I didn't know I had a smaller staff then, but to have the people, and over the past, I'd say 4 or 5 years, have just been consistent in the standards we apply, and because you can't create a top level match because it's time to do it, right? You have to do it with sustained effort and training and value and contribution over time. And they first need to see it in me before they are gonna. They need to see me doing it, but then they need to see the value. And the way that I view this is, I mean, everybody's involved in a competitive sport, which means everybody looks at the results. They want to win. Now, whether or not they're highly competitive or not is the only difference. But any competitive sport is only as valuable as the officiating. Throw a bunch of knucklehead refs into the NFL tomorrow and watch how fast it drops. But it's just as easy to run a match and officiate at a high level as it is at a half-assed level, right? And I'm not saying that to say that anybody intentionally does something half-assed. But you'll do what you do regularly at your local match. So if you run a level 1 where you are, and then 2 years from now, it comes time to run a major, you're not going to run a different match than you are every month just because it's time to be a major. And I think that that's why the Peach was as successful as it was. And I think Dan Bernard was the range master there and wrote an article and put it in the magazine, I guess in September or something like that. But is from this our staff standpoint, they really didn't do much different than they ever do. And so, and I think that there was a heavier focus on hospitality. I come from running hotels and was a chef for 20 years, and then, moved up and director of food and beverage and director of operations at high level hotels. And so for me, it's these are my guests, these are my customers, and their experience is what they're coming out here for. And yeah, so when they're shooting a stage, the stages are important, and don't get me wrong, like they are, but they're not as impactful to a shooter's experience at your match as the staff is. They'll leave and say, well, yeah, the stages were good, but I mean, let them have a bad run-in with the staff and see, where that goes on social media. And
The
it
interesting
only
thing,
takes one interaction.
the thing I find so interesting is your clubs out there where you are so different from the ones around Jeff and I. We don't sell out club matches. To say that our club has staff would be a reach, I would say. There are, I would say, leaders in a club, people who volunteer and step up to like take care of getting a stage built, but like we don't really have a staff at our club matches. At least like here locally around Sioux Falls, South Dakota. There's the guys who are basically the club contacts or the match directors. And outside of that, it's just shooters who volunteer. Like there's no staff, So
Well, don't get me wrong. I think I might be the only one for
I've never heard of
a level one match, right? Like, so it's how do we make it bigger and better? And so part of it is just good fortune, right? Like we're in a location where we have a ton of shooters that are just itching to shoot matches, right? So, I mean, that part has nothing to do with me. Like they'll shoot even the whatever matches fill up pretty well. But I think I'm definitely the only one I know of that's running stage ROs and AM/PM squads.
I've heard of AM/PM
for a monthly.
I've heard of AM/PM for club matches. Hell, Bruce did that out in well, actually, when they were still in Spearfish, because they only had 2 bays and they were getting really full. But I've never heard of dedicated staff at a level 1. That's pretty wild to me.
And you know what? I mean, so I had heard Jeremy Fitzpatrick on there before, and he was talking about it, and he's just one of the staff and and he's amazing, right? And there's another 20 some odd, which with varying levels of experience, but as a match director and as the section coordinator, it's I look and evaluate and say, okay, I'll talk to people. I'll meet them up at the range and talk to them about what it's like being an RO. I'd say 95% of them are certified. The other ones they've got such a strong foundation and the willingness to do the best job they possibly can, that the certification will come, but they're going to put more into it than somebody would who might be certified, but is past the point that they want to or can commit at that level, and that's okay. We need shooters too, but they're the ones that do it. Like I could never have made that match happen even close to where it was by myself. And I mean, they show up for, I have 10 to 14 people coming in for setup day. And even the day before the match, when I'm going in by myself to set movers, steels, and targets and debug stages, and then put up steel hard covers so we're not shooting through a barrel into a popper. And I don't even ask people to come in for that day, and there'll be 5 people there. And so it's just such an amazing support system. But I believe that only comes from seeing it working, understanding the value, and seeing me working, never asking anything of anybody that I am not already doing. And I wouldn't be able to. There's most of the time I go up there and I don't tell anybody, because if I can, I mean, there's a finite amount that a match director can ask for before he starts burning people out. And if I'm very conscious of that, and um, sensitive to what I ever ask anybody to do, but they consistently do more than I could imagine, and I I try to take great care of them, but but I hate it for them and the shooters that even if we're able to pull it back together at the beginning of next year, that they've had to go through this amount of stress and watch something that they've worked hard for dissolve. But yeah, staff. I mean, we've got staff jerseys, right? Like, so we're fancy looking for a monthly match, but we don't consider ourselves a monthly match either. The rules don't change, so why would our standards for operating change?
And like we're sitting here, Andy's club is lucky to get that many people who are used to running a tablet. And my club, like we'll have like 20, 30 experienced people with another like 15, 20 inexperienced people. And like, that's a good match for us. So the levels you're talking where your staff is almost as much as what we get at a match is blowing our mind.
Yeah, part of that's out of your control though, right? Like,
completely.
Yeah, like you've got what you've got in the area, and like you can, even if you start growing, there's only so much you can grow.
Yeah, I mean,
There's
being right
so
outside of
pool.
Atlanta versus being right outside of Sioux Falls, like, yeah, there's a little bit of a population difference there, just a little small difference.
But at the same time, it doesn't have to change, and it takes time. Like it's taken years of doing the same thing, sometimes by myself, but it eventually starts to grow. And I'd so and there's a book that's got a great analogy in it, Good to Great, and in the book it talks about this big heavy flywheel, and let's say it's mounted on a wall and it just weighs 1,000 pounds, and it takes so much effort just to get it to move, and you push and it moves like 3 inches. You push a little harder and it moves a little bit more, but as you continue to push, the weight of it continues it turning with little to no effort, whereas it took a lot at the beginning. And it's the same with anything. It generates momentum, and the match has generated enough momentum that, and I think that's the mark of success in any endeavor is, can the leader step back and at least for a period of time without somebody stepping into his role, and everything runs that way, because it's not running that way because I'm looking or because I said, hey, let's do it this way. It's running that way but because everybody involved cares and sees the value and sees they all have a unified purpose. And which is one of the reasons I didn't end up. I was supposed to be co-match director for the Area 6 match, and ended up 6 months prior to that stepping out of that. And only for the sake that there was a co-match director, and there was between Ben and Stephanie and me, there was really three people, and it just splits up the vision and the level of oversight and accountability. And so I'm generally not a fan of dual leadership in any enterprise for that reason, is that I think that in my experience, results are better when it is one vision, and the accountability rests on one person.
I slightly disagree.
Okay.
I think generally it is best to have one general and not a committee of generals. However,
Right.
if you have the right partner, I think it can work. Because like with Area 3, I had a co-match director, and it was not possible for me to 100% be the match director because the match was 400 miles away. So
Agreed.
I couldn't do everything. It wasn't possible. And as Bruce has said to me several times, is he's the logistics and I'm the creative, and together we work pretty damn well together. And if I'm like, hey, we should do this, and he's like, or we could just not. That's like, and Jeff is laughing because he knows Bruce. That's Bruce's nice
Bruce
way of saying that's a dumb fucking idea. We're not doing that.
Do you think that both you and he have identical standards?
In terms of quality, yes.
Identical.
Well, no, not identical.
You would never do something he was not okay with, and he wouldn't do something you were okay with. You wouldn't walk onto a stage.
It depends on what you're talking about. Like, have I painted every wall and fault line for my level 2 match? No. Bruce did that for the level 3 that they had there, opening a brand new range. And
Right.
now I would. Like, he changed my mind that was super important. Like, that is a good thing to do. I don't think as long as standards are high, I don't think they have to be the same. You know.
Well, but right. So okay, but to that point, like I think that it is. I think it can work, right? And I think that two people can work well together. But going into that first match, if he, just for instance, was of the opinion I would like everything painted, and you weren't, and they didn't get painted, well, a sacrifice has been made to somebody, right? Like whether or not it exists to both of you, it exists to one of you. And which is a sacrifice that if it was one person, you've got at least one set of standards that you're not going to find out later that, okay, well, this wasn't the way that I would have liked it. And this was kind of split, or we didn't have the food there on time, because that person's level of experience or what's important to them can't ever mirror another person's. It's just never going to be the same.
And that's our 2 levels of experience. I had run 4 level 2 matches prior to this. He had run 0 major matches ever in his life. But he'd been running a club for years, and he had been paying attention and had lots of ideas. And like the sort of thing you're talking about, though, like it's not logical for me to say, no, we shouldn't be painting the walls and fault lines. They should all be wood grain, bare.
So
that's just kind of stupid. Like that's something I don't even care. Like, oh, you want to do that? Well, it's your club, your props. Yeah, sure, whatever. It's, I guess neither of us. I guess we were able to work well together. To your point, no, I don't think it always works. I think if you are working with the right person, it absolutely can work and can be better than one leader, because one leader gets myopic and it's like, well, this is the way I've always done it. That's how we're always going to do it. Okay, but everybody's getting fragged in the face. You should stop doing that.
Right, but I don't think that's and you're right, and it happens quite a bit. But then I think that's not necessarily the right leader. So, I mean, for me, the level of extra that I am is I don't have a barrel or a wall at a level 1 that hasn't been painted. And yeah, like it's listen, if it hasn't been, you're not going to be able to see if that was my bullet or somebody else's bullet. And so if I don't have an extra 30 minutes to put some paint on the walls where there might be a hole from the last match.
Then, you just I thought you meant like decoratively painted, is what I thought you meant. Like having every square inch of barrel and wall painted. Like,
oh yeah, no, it is. There isn't a bit of it. Not one bit of our barrels has blue on it. Because I've got a paint sprayer.
The barrels I hate barrels. I avoid using barrels at all costs because I think they're the devil.
They're problematic.
Very problematic. But the parts that are going to get shot get painted. We don't have every square inch of our barrels painted, but the parts that are important to a stage get painted. For scoring purposes, but.
So here's my answer to that, and that's, I mean, I think at the bare minimum that's what you should do. But coming from a culinary perspective, as I went through culinary school and worked at a couple different Ritz-Carltons in my early in my career, you taste first with your eyes. Well, it's not different anytime you experience something. And so when you walk into a match, your first impression when you walk onto a stage is either damn or ooh, damn. And that just comes from what you see. And so, yeah, I'll take time and paint the fault lines because, again, the shooters showing up are my guests and my customers, and they're there spending their time and money with the staff who's working hard. So I feel that it is my duty, and if I need to stay an extra hour to do it, then I just do it. But the aesthetics of it to me is what they're going to experience first, and the rest of it could be great, but it's if it's not, that's the easy part, making it look good, even if it's a marginal stage, which is a whole different thing. But to the point you had made before is getting fragged in the face is, I mean, evaluating and owning the things that you f up is so critical. Like we sent out
Yeah.
after the peach, I sent out a survey, and I think that there's a lot of matches, high level matches, that don't send out surveys. And I mean, for me, the message you send first of all is, we don't care about your opinion, and we're not going to do anything different even if you gave it to us. That's the message it sends. But the other thing is that if I don't ask and don't adjust based on that, then I mean, I'm missing the opportunity to get better. I've got this huge opportunity to just ask people, and they will tell me the things that they experienced. And some of them might not be worth much, and some of them are. But when you see a trend or a pattern, and then, far too often we double down on bad decisions by not being able to say, well, yeah, geez, I fucked that up. That didn't work. I'm not going to do that again. Let's rethink that whole thing. And it's easy enough, but when we don't do that, when we fail to own something, is when things blow up on social media.
Yeah.
And we say, no, I
You
didn't
make
make
it
a
worse.
mistake.
Yeah, you make it worse. Absolutely worse. If you, like, when the wind was destroying Area 3 this year, every time it came up, I was like, yeah, we kind of fucked that up. We should have anchored things down much better. And people were, let me rephrase, people who were actually at the match were pretty forgiving of it. It was like, oh man, this was a great match. It sucked that the wind blew, but like, you guys can't do anything about that. And I actually disagreed with that. We should have braced things up better.
Right.
I mean, we're from the state. We know better. But Bruce was a little unconcerned because he's like, these have always worked for us in the past. But what he forgot about was that he's been running a match in a canyon where the wind doesn't blow no matter how hard it's blowing outside of the canyon. So,
but the social media vigilantes, they're like, oh, they should have done this and that, and you needed wall braces on the sides of them. But that's how you learn, right? And so if you did it again in the same place, you'd probably have them there.
Yeah. Well, and also just understanding that when people talk shit on the internet, there's probably some truth in it somewhere.
Yeah.
If someone like. The people who said, I don't know if you saw the video of the 270 stage we had at Area 3.
No.
Which was approved by Troy.
Okay.
There were everybody who saw the videos of it who was not at the match was like, I don't understand how that possibly could have been approved. What in the hell is going on? This is the worst thing that has ever happened. But every angle of fire that happened is an angle of fire that happens in every USPSA match every month at every club. Like, there's one on the line, and there's people who are downrange of the muzzle, but uprange of the 180 line. And you see it in hat cams all the time. Okay?
Yeah.
Except at Area 3, those people were 40 yards away and not ever in any sort of peril. And
I am super curious. I'm gonna check that out because I think that it must be a pretty special stage and location
and
of it.
Bay also four-sided bay.
Yeah,
like it can only work with a certain type of bay. They did one like this at it was closer to 360 at Multi-Gun Nationals, and then Bruce had an idea for a 270 stage that was It was designed with the ROs in mind, and there were no like sketchy shots possible. They were all taken away.
And did there have to be any conversations or special explanations for that to get approved?
Not a lot, no. Just mostly because Bruce and I went back and forth on the stage, like tweaking it. There was an early version of it where I was like, dude, I want to sweep my gun past this part because it's just like the direction I would do it. And that was the part where in the corner of the bay to the entrance of the bay where the people were going to be. And that was like, no, we can't have this target. There was a little bit of back and forth between me and Troy, but not much. He asked a couple of questions and then I answered him and I said, nope, like everyone will be in the corner just like it was at multi-gun. And, there's only one target that would have broken a conventional 180. But it was sort of like there was two 180s. Like one went south, the other one went west.
Did the 180 change positions? Like when they were engaging the targets that were in that area, do you have to assume that there is a new 180 for that area?
No, basically
that engagement.
The stage brief was written. Scott Arnberg was
Don't flag anybody.
Range master. It was if your gun points across the barriers where everybody is, like everybody was forced to be confined in the corner of the bay behind barricades. Okay. If your muzzle crosses those barricades, you're going home. Period. And the ROs were very good and knew where to be. Like one just stayed put in the back left corner because that was the spot where you would see all the 180 breaks if they happened. And then the timer RO was following the shooter, staying behind them. The stage was designed with the RO in mind. And then the scoring RO would kind of float to the places where they could, working behind them because it was a pretty big stage. And no, it worked great. It went off without a hitch. Not a single DQ. Nobody even came close to DQing on that stage. There was one guy who ate shit, but that had nothing to do with the stage design. He tripped on his feet and went down and cut his knee up pretty bad. That was like the only hiccup in the whole match. On that stage anyway. So, that was a tangent, but I liked it.
Yeah, that's good to know.
Because Jeff, can you find that stage on my Instagram or your Instagram and send it to him?
Yeah, I will.
Because
I mean that's really interesting. And I mean, and I've had stages. I mean, I think all the ones for the Peach, were approved pretty easily without any adjustments. But I think in 2022, there was ones that had some discussion with Troy about. But and everything is a learning experience. I think in 2022, the state match, the conversation was really about walls and what's okay when they're for their positioning when they're within the shooting area, where they don't become traps. And, and that was pretty easy to fix. But most of the time, I mean, for the Peach, it was really easy. The thing with the Peach that became, from a match perspective or from a stage perspective is, Riverbend has limitations on the size of the bays that we were shooting on. There's bigger bays, but we didn't have those bays. So we had the ones we usually shoot on, which is called Cowboy Hill, and there's 11 bays there. One of them we had set up for chrono, and then so we had 10, but most of them are, 32 to 40 wide, and 50, 60 feet long, somewhere in that range. But some of them shorter, but it's getting very creative where you're testing a multitude of skills in the same stage, that it's not positional and it's not all hoser stuff, that they are deceptively difficult, but more importantly, that match flow isn't impacted. Because when you have one or two long bays and then a bunch of short bays, well, how do you control match flow so that you don't get a backup?
Add movers to the short ones.
Yeah.
Complicated reset.
Right. Well, and that's what it is, right? So it's, slightly lower round counts on the longer ones, maybe with more running,
Uh
but
huh.
not as much shooting, and throw some movers there. And um, it's I have a lot of discussions when people send me stages, and it's like, well, we need a higher round count here. I'm like, listen, I'll tell you, the round count and the stage
No,
time
no,
is not near as important as your reset time.
no.
And I mean, you've got 10 seconds difference in average stage time. And you may have 2 minutes in an increased reset when you stick two movers on a 25-yard stage. Um, and so you'll lose it on the reset, not on the shooting. I mean, the fast people will shoot it in 12 seconds, the slow people will shoot it in 30. But man, you can lose three times that in reset. So
Yeah.
we also, ran the bays such where you leapfrogged over, so we got rid of the need to have a shuttle. And, and it was, I think, and I had a map printed on Coroplast, and I communicated it. And I think there was a couple people that got there, and then I had signs on each bay. Like it was blasted out there. I think there were still probably a few that were like, I was confused. And it's like, um, so my answer is, okay, well, if I ran it again, then part of the WSB would be, and the housekeeping notes would be for the ROs to tell them where they're going for their next stage, and send them
Oh
off
yeah.
like kids on their first day of school
Yep.
after every stage.
I had that. I made the same mistake with Great Plains. We got away with it a couple of years because we would run two zones, and the first time we ran it, the 5 bays that are in the middle of my range were one zone, and then all of the bays and stages that were outside of that were the other zone. Well, that caused people to have to walk like 300 yards from one end of the range to the other.
Right.
And it was kind of stupid. Like, it made sense to me because here's a zone and there's a zone. It was separated. But people didn't like the big long walk from one end to the other, and most people had to make it twice. Only one squad only had to make that trip once. So
The ones that started,
right, the
at
ones that
beginning of
started
one of
on
the- right.
on it, and so I was like, okay, I took on that feedback, and then I literally split the range in half. So bays 1, 2, and 3 are way off to the east across our long rifle range, and then 4 and 5 are the other half, and then 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 are the other zone. But there was
Kind
one
of the way
squad.
Ohio is split up at Marengo.
Yeah, but here's the mistake. I didn't tell the ROs to tell on Bay 5, send them to 1, because some North Dakota boys, not your North Dakota boys, Jeff, but some Fargo guys went from 5 to 6 when they should have gone to 1, and they fucked up the whole rotation. And the guys running the Bay 6 didn't notice that they weren't supposed to be there. They just sound, oh, here's the next squad. What's your squad number? Okay, here we go. Ba-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da. So then,
But did the whole squad go, or just a few?
oh yeah. No, they were balls deep in it by the time the mistake was caught, and then, it's totally screwed up that half of the day. So it happens. You learn, you live, you learn. It hasn't happened since. So
no, that's the best way to learn.
yeah, well, it is. Yeah, fuck it up really good is the best way to learn.
It teaches a lesson.
There's a match thing that we have never experienced that you do or are part of. Staff reset. We talked
about that.
We talked about people on the internet talking shit. Well, we're here now, so staff reset. How the fuck does it
I
work?
don't know. I know that in 2020, 2021, at the state match here, it started becoming a real big thing. And having both shot and worked a lot of staff reset matches and then not staff reset matches, I can tell you I am not a fan of staff reset matches. And
Thank you.
here,
Thank you, Scott. Thank
here,
you.
I can't say for everybody. I think the shooters, largely would like to not have to do anything, and I get that. Um, like, and well, and you can
Could you
say,
just
I mean,
provide
I
some
don't.
staff, Scott, that loads my mags for me too, please? Like,
Well, and I'll tell you, one of the things is that I don't even like it as a shooter.
no, I don't either.
Um, it's like I need to keep moving, and
Yep.
I don't even feel good when I'm watching people run around resetting and not helping. And so I don't mind it when it's raining. I like, okay, if it rains, I'm like, yeah, I appreciate this right now.
Yeah.
But more than anything, I think one, we'll set this aside and say it does reduce the amount of competitor induced resets by pre-pasted targets.
Yeah.
It helps in the efficiency on paper. It helps in the efficiency of the matches and having issues pop up because you're just out there. You have a routine. You know exactly what you're doing, and you get the fuck off the stage.
Yeah.
And so by the time you go through day one, day two, you are moving. So for that, I think that it's worthy. Outside of that, it is incredibly taxing to the staff, and you need probably 25 to 30% more staff than you would
Oh
otherwise.
yeah.
Now they don't all need to be certified, but you need to compensate them more, and you're not going to be able to get them as easily because there's staff out there that don't want to work if it's going to be staff reset. Now, for me, my experience, if there's ones who are like, well, I don't want to work if it's staff reset, great. I probably don't
Don't
want
want
you.
you.
And it's the same for me, at least personally. I have never paid attention to the compensation package when I'm deciding whether or not to work. And it's not because I don't like money. It's because that's not why I'm doing it. It's not
Right.
I'm not making a profit off of this, and it's never played into it. By the time the match is over, I'm only vaguely aware that I should stop and pick up my check. Um, but on the match director side, I put almost all of my resources into rewarding and thanking the staff. I am big on making sure the competitors feel comfortable. I don't think that, for the most part, whenever we give competitors a bag of swag and some stickers and stuff, if it's some significant stuff from sponsors, great. But like, I don't need any more stickers and another
No, you need
boar
not
snake.
another
But
shooting show sticker, Scott. You need one of those.
I don't have one of those.
No.
That's true.
I can fix that.
But I'm all boar snaked out. So I think that
Dude, I have so many 9mm bore snakes. It's ridiculous. I have 3 in sight of me right now.
Try being the guy with a 45 bore snake and no
Oh, God.
45.
Yeah. I
my
finally
daughters are
have one of
whipping
those.
them around at each other.
Oh, yeah. That's just weapons for kids.
Yeah,
Well-
they hurt. They got brass spikes at the
yeah.
end.
No, it's got a big giant snake bite on the end of it.
Yeah,
Well-
I'm not a fan of staff reset.
Well, this has been fun. I'm sorry your club is going through what it's going through. Hopefully it gets worked out. If it doesn't get
Yeah.
worked out, do you have places you're hoping to land? Are there other places where you could go in that neighborhood? I mean, you're north of Atlanta, right? How far from Atlanta is it? Like, at least like the edge of the metro?
I mean, I was born in Atlanta, right? So it's 30 minutes south is where Atlanta proper begins. And so, yeah, I'm working on another range that already has an active club, but the person who runs matches at that club has been doing it for a long, long time, and he's ready to kind of back off now. We still have to kind of work through that, but
Yeah.
selfishly, Riverbend's 14 minutes from my house, and this one's an
Oh.
hour and 20.
Yeah.
But if that ends up, and then the Peach would move there. For now, the Peach was planned and scheduled for April. I'm working on, I'll be changing dates if we move it there. And and then putting it back out. But if we can get that going, I will probably look to do something bigger and better than we had, because I've got 21 bays of all sizes and no restrictions. So hopefully you can get that pulled together. And so there is hope. And the tail has not finished on what's going to end up being the case with Riverbend. So hopefully, if they allow, it wouldn't. It's doubtful it would be me running the match at this point, because they're sour with me. But if hopefully they can pull it together and at least get the matches back on the calendar, so the shooters in this area can shoot it again, whether or not it's me, and I can move on to doing something different.
Yeah. Well, thanks for joining us, Scott. Appreciate it. It was interesting hearing about drama that's not Jeff's club for a change.
Andy, Jeff, appreciate you guys having me on.
You bet. Thanks, Scott. He is Jeff King. I'm Andy Erickson. This is Not Another Shooting Show. Hearing about drama that's not Jeff's club for a change.
Andy, Jeff, appreciate you guys having me on.
You bet. Thanks, Scott. He is Jeff King. I'm Andy Erickson. This is Not Another Shooting Show.